Behind the Roar, the official podcast of West Tigers.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Behind the Roar, the official podcast of West Tigers, where we give it to you straight, where we kick speculation into touch and where we learn more about the people and the stories behind this great club. With our NRL team taking a break this week and this weekend, I thought it was an opportune time to take a closer look at what's happening below the NRL team. And when I say that, I mean the New South Wales Cup team, Jersey Flegg Cup team as well. So basically our senior pathways teams. These are the teams which springboard our players into first grade. So already this season, we've seen the likes of Brandon Turmouth, Jareen Buller, and more recently, we've also seen Talon De Silva make their NRL debut for West Tigers. And there could, and I'm sure there will be more to come before the year is out. Now, this week's guest, he has a really, really tough job. His job is to develop our brightest young stars and then pretty much say farewell and usher them into first grade, leaving his team just to do its best. He played about 20 first grade games with Western Suburbs Magpies. It was in the late 80s. Alongside the likes of Trevor Cogger, Jason Liddon, Ian Schubert, Danny Peacock, and a load of others as well who you may recognise. He found a calling in coaching and is one of, I think, the most experienced pathways coaches in the game. He's coached lower grades at several clubs, including North Sydney, Canterbury, Penrith, Manly, and of course here at West Tigers. Now, he joined us here in 2019 as our Jersey Flegg Cup coach, guiding a very talented Manly's under-20s team to premiership glory the year before. This season will be his second season in charge as the head coach of our New South Wales Cup team. Welcome to Behind the Roar, Wayne Lampkin. Wayne Chops Lampkin.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, don't forget the chops. People don't recognise me without chops. Most people only call me Chops.
And I won't ask you, the origin of the name's quite obvious, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My old man was a butcher.
Was he true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I had to end up with chops.
There you go. I like it, Lammy. As I say, it is a difficult job that you've got as the reserve grade coach, New South Wales Cup coach. And we'll talk more about, the challenges and the rewarding parts as well. But let's go straight on to that firstly. The rewarding parts must be for you, knowing that I guess you've had some input, and a lot of input actually, into some of these younger kids that do come through. For example, Talon at the weekend making his debut. A month or two back, Jareen Buller making his debut, and earlier this season, Brandon Turmouth making his debut. Must give you a fair bit of satisfaction.
Yeah, mate. As a second grade coach, and as I call myself a development coach, they're the rewards you get from the hard work you put into those type of players, and the hard work's put into all those players, and they're the rewards I get from that. I can walk away feeling like I've done my job.
Because when I say tough gig, I would say it's very much a transit lounge, isn't it? New South Wales Cup. And you would very rarely, I would imagine, field the same team in consecutive weeks because the NRL team will pick it apart and take what they need. And equally, there'll be other NRL players coming back from injury or a drop in form that you have to accommodate. So it is really tricky.
It is, and the expectation of when I took the job on was exactly I knew what I was getting into. It is a tough gig because you don't have the consistency of the same, 17 every week. And we get, the guy from first grade that comes back down that wants quick exit back to first grade. We've got the part-time guys that are always going to be reserve graders in a lot of ways. And then we've got the young talented kids who are pushing at the door to get a run. And you talked about Talon De Silva. He played 20 minutes one week with me and then a full half game against the Raiders was played really well, and he's gone on to play first grade in that short time. So he only spent 60 minutes on the field in reserve grade before his first grade debut.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about talent. We're going to talk more about Jerome. Probably a lot more, because I want to talk about pathways in general. 20 years experience at Westfields Sports High. You know a lot of these young kids coming through, and you've it's going to be a good chat. So I look forward to doing that. When I was doing a bit of research last night, because I like to come prepared, Chops. You got to do your homework. My God, it took me back when I was looking at when you made your debut and played those couple of years at the Magpies. So I reckon you must have just pulled up stumps there, and we must have just missed each other, because you were 88, 89?
89 I finished in 89, yeah.
So I arrived out there at Arana Park in 1990.
Okay.
So that's why we never
No, we never met.
Cross paths
or met.
But some of the boys in your team I was looking through last night. Oh, some characters in that team.
There would have still been a few there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some characters there, mate. It was a time in the game when
Dougie Rawlings?
Dougie Rawlings, yeah, from Oberon.
Lids?
Yeah, Lids.
Junee?
Yeah, Junee boy. Yeah, same part as Laurie Daly.
The most capped Magpies player, if you take all 3 grades, Trevor Cogger.
Great.
Who's young bloke's doing well.
Doing great. And Trevor was a great player himself and played well above his weight. And consistency, you talk about consistency, he was a very consistent player, and yeah, he was a great player for the Magpies.
And Schubert. Loads of, and we'll talk more about your debut as well. The team you played against when you made your debut.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that as well. Righto, how this works, okay? So I'll throw 6 questions at you, opening set of 6 tackles, right?
Okay.
I want you to be honest and fair.
I'll try to be as honest as I can, Chris.
All right, then we'll talk some footy.
Yeah.
More footy and a fair bit more footy in the middle, the guts of the game. And then at the back end, to the clock up there, Chops. About 5 minutes, about 5 to go.
All right.
Righto.
Yeah.
We'll do your favourite 5, right?
Right, yeah.
It could pretty much be anything. Righto. Okay, so let's launch into the opening set of 6. You ready?
I'm ready.
Boots on?
Yeah.
Mouth guard in?
Off the back fence.
Okay. Well, let's. There it is. There is the whistle, Chops. Graham Annesley is the referee. It is your first grade debut. You're making it off the bench. It's a Sunday afternoon, round 1, 1987 at Penrith Park. Tim Sheens is coaching Penrith, your opponent. Roy Simmons is their captain. Daryl Broman, the big man, he's one of the props. Jeff Gerard is in the team. John Cartwright is in the team. Greg Alexander is the halfback. David Lydiard is in the team. God, there's some names there, isn't there? All right, enough reminiscing. Let's go away with the set of 6. Do you remember? And we've just seen Talon make his debut at the weekend. Do you remember the week leading up to your debut and the match itself?
I remember the Tuesday night at training when they read the teams out, and no one had spoken to me prior to the teams being read out, and the surprise was more shock than anything else. It was like, oh, no one's spoken to me. You know, I thought it was an opportunity sometime during the year to play first grade, and it came early. And
it was round 1.
Yeah, round 1 after trials. Must have trialled well.
What were you, back rower?
Back rower, front rower. Yeah. Whichever they put me in. I mean, those days, mate, the back rower played in the middle of the field. Yeah. If you played outside the halfback, you'd get a message from the coach to get yourself back in the middle of the field. You know, these days they're running off halfbacks and at halfbacks, which I always thought was a good thing. But, our coaches of those days and the way the game was played, totally different. I was excited. I guess the first thing I wanted to do was ring my parents because they'd put all the hard work in travelling me around. But unfortunately, in those days, mate, there was no mobile phones, I'd hate to say, so I had to wait till I got home. And I lived on the north side, and I was at Campbelltown, and I think I broke speed records to get home to tell my father and my mother that I was playing first grade that weekend.
How nice. Yeah, no mobile phones. A lot's just.
No
So where'd you live? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up at Normanhurst, went to Normanhurst Boys High School. I was a North Sydney junior rugby league player for Asquith and Pennant Hills. And, so that's where I played my footy.
Story Park
and good old Pennant Hills Oval.
Well, yeah, well, we're going off track here again. Yeah, I'm playing against
Yeah.
Asquith and Cherrybrook, the team I'm coaching, the young boys.
Okay.
They go good up there. So that's your background. Well, lots changed. No mobile phones, but it wasn't NRL. It was New South Wales Rugby League too, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that by that stage the Broncos had come in and Newcastle Knights were in. So
Yeah.
Canberra and Illawarra had come in. I think 83 around that time. So the game was growing, but it was still New South Wales Rugby League.
Yeah. Okay, so just a couple of years in first grade.
Yep.
And a fair bit of reserve grade as well. So what happened? Why just the 2 years? Was it serious injuries or you wanted to go into coaching or what was it?
No, I think, look, different circumstances. At that time, West weren't going great. There was a change of coaches pretty much every 12 months. And I guess the relationship I had with coaches like Steve Goshen, I think he had a lot of faith in me and gave me the opportunities. And then, you meet different coaches on the way that, we don't always get on great with our coaches and they don't always see the same as what other people do. So it was just a case of me moving on. And, look, I was always, my love for the game, even from a young age, 5 or 6, I was always going to look into coaching eventually. I loved the game so much and had an idea of how I thought it should be played. So I went and played a few years on the Central Coast for Arimba and Wyong. We won a premiership there in 1992 at Wyong.
Were you captain coach up there?
No, mate, I just went up and played footy and enjoyed just, the relaxation of playing footy without the pressure. And then the opportunity came along to coach and I jumped at it and was quick to hang the boots up and go into the other area of the game that I loved.
You just mentioned there you went and just played footy for the enjoyment of it. And my young bloke asked me yesterday out of the blue, he said to me, he's 10, he said, do you think some players just play for the money, Dad? And I said, well, yeah, you're probably right. But way back then, I mean, okay, you got a bit of coin, but it wasn't a whole lot.
No, it wasn't a lot. If you were smart with it, you could do something with it. I can remember, I came from a background of, you saved your money and you put it into something. And I think by the time I'd finished footy, I bought myself a block of land on the Central Coast. And
what's it worth now, Chops?
Well, I sold and bought a house in Sydney. So, and that was just because of, I'd heard so many stories of players back in those days who were on more money than me ending up with nothing. Yep. And it was always in the back of my head, if I was going to put in the hard work to play footy and train the way I did and all the rest of it, I wanted to get something out of it by the end for myself. I was fortunate enough to come from a background of, parents who forced me to save a little bit and could see the future.
Yeah, well, I guess my point was sort of also, for me, if I'd just play one first grade game, that was like a childhood dream, and I'd tick that box, and to get some money would be great, but it was not always about the money. But we're comparing totally different eras.
Mate, I would have done it for nothing.
Well, I would too.
From a time,
and I pretty much almost did.
Yeah, well, it was back then. So, but from the time I was a young kid, it was a dream to play first grade. I'd watch first grade. I listened to it on the radio. I wouldn't miss a game, wherever I could. I can remember pestering my father to take me to games and stuff like that. So I just had a massive love for the game. Yeah. At school, if I had to write an essay, it'd be about football. Yep. If I had to write a poem, it'd be about football.
Yep.
So it was just the love for the game.
Nice. How did the coaching come about then?
Coaching came about, I was working for Never Fail Springwater, and I was doing a pre-season game, a promotion pre-season game, and an old friend of mine, Bob Saunders from the Bears, where I was kind of brought up my footy there, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "What are you doing selling water? You'd be a great coach." And I said to him, "Well, how do I get into it?" And he said, "Mate, I'll ring you on Monday." He organised me to go and do a coaching course, and I think within a month's time, I was full-time working at the Bears in junior development and coaching the Harold Matthews team.
Ditch the Never Fail.
Ditch Never Fail for footy.
Used to get there, Farrell. They used to deliver it once a fortnight, I think it was.
Yeah,
on the
they
back
carry,
of the
carrying
truck, the blue truck.
carrying those big bottles around, mate. I didn't need to do weights.
That's where the guns. That's where the guns have come from. Eh?
I used to do a few sneaky ones behind on the truck.
I bet you did too. We're only up to question 4, Chop. So, family life. Tell me about your family.
Oh, look, I've got a beautiful 28-year-old daughter who's about to go into a new start of her life with getting married in March. So looking forward to seeing her move on into the new chapter of her life.
Is the bride's father still foot the bill?
Oh, mate, it's changed these days. Yeah, we go halves, which is good. Yeah, my half seems to be a little bit bigger though.
Oh.
But that's okay. I've only got the one, so and she
Nice.
reminds me of that very often. You know, Dad, you've only got one, so you know you need to look after me. I went, yeah, I know.
Yeah, nice.
My partner Maria, she's a school teacher. She's head of business studies at Knox College, so she's a very busy lady herself. So with football, knowing that my time is very sparse in the
Do you see much of each other?
Oh, we kind of walk past each other and say good day every now and then. No, but
Remember
you know,
me?
yeah,
Jobs.
she's got a very demanding job, you know, and she's like me, dedicated to what she does. So you know, it's best that we have our interests and we understand that you know time is not always our greatest asset. So, but we do spend a lot of time. We love going down to the beach and just we enjoy pretty simple life.
Yeah, simple, nice though. And absence sometimes makes the heart grow fonder, I think. Is that the saying?
Well, that's what I keep trying to tell her, but she's not quite believing me at the moment. She's quite often brings up that bloody football. So, but that's okay. We both get on.
Away from footy, then, like you enjoy a bit of family time. You got any other hobbies, interests?
Look, mate, as I said, I'm fairly simple. I really enjoy. I don't do a lot of physical training whilst being a coach because you're so, concentrating on everyone else. So I love getting away, just going up to my local Fitness First and jumping on the treadmill and throwing a few weights around.
Is there a little plug? Where is it, Fitness First?
Pennant Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah. And we, as I said, we enjoy the beach. We go down to Newport or Bilgola and, we go for a walk and I jump in the water, have a swim. Maria,
it's my neck of the woods, Chops. You haven't.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You haven't told
I've got a
me
little unit down at Queenscliff too that I'll go and retire in one day. So.
He's done all right for himself, hasn't he? Hey?
Yeah, that little bit of contract, that block of land on the Central
Wow.
Coast has done well for me.
So
but
you've gone from Arimba to Queenscliff.
Yeah. So look, we just enjoy a really nice, simple life. We enjoy going out for dinner, and it's sometimes it's good. Sometimes when you get the time, just to put your feet up and enjoy life together, and the simple things in life keep me pretty happy.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. 20 years at Westfields Sports High.
Yeah.
20 years, that's a long time in the one place. You must have really loved it. What were some of the things that you liked most about that school and your role there?
I love working with dedicated young athletes. The beauty of working with kids in that environment is that they are dedicated towards what they want to achieve. No one makes them go there. They choose to trial for a position there, and then are chosen on basis of, their talent and a little bit of academic as well and behaviour. It's not that easy. I've missed out on some good kids at Westfields over the time due to behaviour and academic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
your role there. Just explain what your role was.
My role was just head coach
Of
the whole program. I worked with every kid twice a week, whether they were year 7 or in the opens team. So I had
I bet you've seen a few come through. That so many playing NRL now.
Yeah, well, it's quite often mentioned. The school gets a good rap for the amount of kids that have gone through and played NRL. There's so many, and there's currently, even at our club at the moment, you've got Stefano and
Tommy
Talau,
David
Clemmer, Brandon Wakeham.
Wakey as well.
Botil
Vetti Welsh on the women's side.
Yes, that's right. So, it's just working with kids like that coming through. Again, they're the rewards that I when a kid from Westfield's been chosen in NRL, even if I've had a little bit to do with them over the 6 years they were at school, I felt a reward from it. And those kids have been very good to me in a lot of ways too. They've never forgotten me because of my job and being involved with NRL and coaching for so long. It's I cross paths with them quite often.
I bet you do, and we'll probably talk a bit more about this a bit later on, but like even Talon De Silva at the weekend, he was there.
Yeah.
That I think the vast majority of the Harold Matts premiership winning team from last year, I think most of them came through Westfields Sports High as well.
Chunk.
Former West Tigers greats, Pat Richards, Bryce Gibbs,
Liam Fulton,
Dean Hallertau.
yeah.
And it goes on. But even away from footy, I mean, this school, and did I hear just recently it's been given status
Olympic status, yeah. So, the Olympic organisation has endorsed the school as a school where kids can go and become Olympians.
Well, I mean, and some of the biggest names in Australian sport have been there. Former Australian cricket captain Michael Clarke.
Yeah.
Socceroos goalkeeper Matthew Ryan.
Julesman Khawaja.
Ozzy Khawaja went there as well.
So, yeah, there's been a lot there.
Something in the water. Israel Folau went there too, I think.
Israel Folau, Tony Williams.
Wow,
There's a whole lot of them. Yeah. Look, I think it's the demographics of the Sydney Southwest. I know the principal that started the school there, Phil Tucker. He saw Sydney Southwest as an environment where there was a lot of good sporting kids that just weren't getting the opportunities, and that's how he created the Sports High School. And he was a gentleman that came from the North Shore of Sydney. He brought with him good discipline, and it was always a part of the school was the discipline as well as the sport. So you didn't get sport without the discipline. And I think that's what's created such a good model there.
Well, that is a pretty long set of six, but we wanted to get to know you a bit more, and I hope we have. Now, I asked a former colleague of yours to describe you sort of in a nutshell. I don't need to say who it was. He told me you're quietly spoken but a very good communicator. He's humble and highly respected and meticulous and highly knowledgeable. So that's what one of your former colleagues described you as.
All right, wasn't my mum.
No.
Okay.
No.
Bryden's lawyers are the lawyers you know and trust. If you require legal representation, then why look anywhere else? Call Bryden's lawyers on 1800 848 848. Bryden's lawyers, we do support you in your time of need.
That's it. Let's dive into and chat a bit more footy, right?
Yeah.
Let's rewind Campbelltown Sports Stadium last weekend. Talon De Silva was on everyone's lips, about to come off the bench for his debut. Okay, we've lost Appy, we've lost Luke Brooks, Steph, Origin camp, playing a Melbourne team that have a huge forward pack. Two of the biggest men in the game.
Yeah.
Well, certainly Asif, Solomona, and always going to be a battle for us to hold them in the middle. I think most games we've showed this year where we can match teams in that arm wrestle, that grind, or the washing machine, as they sort of call it. But once it starts getting away from it, it's hard to wrestle it back.
Yeah, it is. And not only that, they've got a fairly good-sized centre three-quarters.
Oh.
Like you look at the size of Remus Smith and the young guy that's come, the rugby guy that's playing there at the moment on the wing. They're all very big, solid.
Built like a war brick.
Yeah, built like a
Scored
war brick. 4,
could have had 5.
Yeah, they're big athletes, and I guess if you're getting rolled through the middle of the field and they're the guys receiving the ball on the edges, they're a handful as well. But I honestly believe it. I think our forward pack all year has been really, really good and has held their own against every team that we've played against. So I guess losing Appy, losing Brooksy.
You can't make excuses, but I mean, well, it's not excuses, but it is a factor, a very big factor in your performance.
Yeah, it is. And look, it's the confidence that those players in the dressing room before the game give other players, the young players in the side. It's not an excuse because you've just got to find a way sometimes, and sometimes you've got to find the way that suits you on the day to get the win and get out of there with those 2 points. And I think most probably a little bit of pressure come on us, and without those type of senior players around that spine area, most probably just hurt us a little bit there. Just in our confidence,
And Starry thrown into 6, but I thought he's doing really well. Stafford Toe, I think he's having probably the best season.
Yeah.
But tell us, so and we spoke to Appy, we spoke to a few of the boys, and we talk about playing the long game with teams.
Yeah.
So that's getting in the contest, and you mightn't win the game till in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's about getting into that washing machine, set for set, the transitions.
Yeah.
But it only takes a couple of little things, doesn't it, to go against you, whether you drop the ball or give a penalty away, 1 or 2 or 3 things, and suddenly that momentum can be with the opponent, like it ended up being with Melbourne. And it's sometimes like swimming against the rapids.
It is. Momentum is crucial. As you said, we want to get them into that washing machine, that arm wrestle type football where, you're kicking into corners, you're making them bring it out of their 10, makes it a lot easier to defend. And
it's all those little things, isn't it?
It is.
Like those microseconds, everyone doing their job.
Yeah. You kick a team into a corner and you can squeeze your defensive line up, and there's only one way for them to get out of there, then it makes it a lot easier to defend. You put in the hard effort in your kick chase and in those areas, and it actually makes the game easier.
Yep.
And that's the thing that I'm trying to educate young players with, because they come from a game where a drop ball doesn't matter too much and all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to get them into that mind thought of kick them into a corner, go down there, make them come out of there. The only pressure I feel on you in a game when you've got the ball in your hand is when you're bringing it off your try line, because an error can turn into points against you quite quickly. So the beauty of playing that style of footy is that you are putting pressure on your opposition even with the ball in their hand.
And once they all understand that it is a game of all these little parts, but if you can do all those right, do that hard work, it really makes it easier.
Well, that's right. It does make it easier. Over the 80 minutes, you actually make the game easier through through efforts in certain areas.
Yeah.
And it's the game. You look at games. I always revert back. I think it was the Roosters beating Melbourne in a grand final. I'm sure it was. And Roosters kicked high to Slater all night.
Yeah.
And kept him down into a corner. And it was the greatest win I think I've seen in a grand final, where it was just nullifying anything that they had good about them. They were able to just do that on the night.
Nullify their strengths, exploit their weaknesses if you can find one.
Yeah. Not too many weaknesses in Melbourne Storm sides, but
no,
they just found a way that was going to suit them to win that game. And I can remember, I was just watching it thinking they've got this exactly right here. And you could see the frustration coming out in the other opposition. But yeah, we really push for that as coaches, because we know how important it is. It's kind of educating. It's well as educating, it's actually doing it and then feeling the benefits of it. And then it becomes part of your game.
When it becomes part of your fabric of what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I coached under 15s team, and they just do not respect the ball.
No.
And I'm trying – it's exactly the same thing we've just spoken about there. Hold the gold, right? Do the and it will become – work your backsides off for that minute in D. Speed off the line for the whole lot.
Yeah.
It's hard, but once you do that, the game will get easier.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going down the coaching path, mind you, but back to the NRL team. We had a good month sort of there, or even more than that, 5-6
really
weeks,
good.
on the Gold Coast, and then against Melbourne, probably just started to drop too much ball again.
Yeah. And was emphasis after the first few rounds that the coaching staff had put onto the team was, completing more sets, get into your kick.
Which we did, didn't we?
Which we did, and then we became very competitive there. I think the Manly game at Campbelltown was a very close game, could have won that. And then from there, we started to improve, seeing the benefits of it.
Got into the wrestle against Souths.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and so defensively, we were going well. So those things were starting to show in our game, a bit more completion with the footy, a bit more field position, and then we started to win a few. And I think, you know, even from the weekend, I think it was most probably our errors and stuff like that. And I guess it was just sometimes there a little bit of over trying as well, you know, in those circumstances of being behind and chasing the scoreboard, those things will happen, you know, so.
Your New South Wales Cup then, so it's been a bit of an up and down season for you, and it's hard with the team changing from week to week, but as you've said, that's what you sign up for, right?
Yeah.
You've got to deal with that. That's just the way it is. Heavy loss to the Dragons at Lidcombe on the weekend. What went wrong there?
Exactly the same as what we're just speaking about with possession, and, you know, the game was in the balance at 5 minutes before half-time at 10-4 behind. Next minute we go into half-time,
momentum
20-4 down through a couple of errors of our own, which made it very difficult, mate. So yeah, it's been hard. We've had some really good victories. We've knocked off the Warriors. We've knocked off Penrith. We beat Canberra 2 weeks ago.
Had a draw too.
Had a draw last week against Blacktown.
Yeah.
And on the weekend, we lost Will Smith the morning of the game with illness. So, you know, you start taking your experienced half out. You start taking a couple of players out of that side, and all of a sudden, you know, you're uphill. But again, it's just getting back to doing the basics really well, and you can still win that footy game. And that's the disappointing part as a coach.
6 wins, 8 losses, and a draw. So you're just outside the top 8.
Yeah.
Obviously, making finals is a goal.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's a long way to go in the season. And things change in second grade, mate. You know, clubs get injuries all of a sudden the second grade weekends, and you play them that weekend and you're a chance. So,
So you're obviously head coach of New South Wales Cup, but you're also one of Tim's assistant coaches here.
Yeah.
And your role is a transition coach, so preparing those players to come through. A lot of hours involved, I'd imagine.
Massive hours, mate.
Give me those eyes.
Yeah. They are big hours, but, you know, that comes with the job. And I knew that when I signed on.
So we touched on it earlier, Wayne, about being a transition coach and having players come in and out of your team from week to week. So that's probably the greatest challenge. Just tell us about, you can broadly categorise, I guess, those players in sort of three areas.
Yeah, mate, you've got the NRL players who
doesn't want to be there.
Doesn't want to be there. They want to play first grade, and I understand that. You've got a bunch of guys who are in a part-time squad that fill the vacancies of, you know, the players that aren't in there from the top 30. And then you've got the young achievers who are making their way up from flag and SG ball who
in a hurry.
And, you know, with the club and the situation it is, with a lot of good kids coming through, we've got to find space to give those kids some opportunity playing against men and out of their own age group. So, you know, it's a challenging, as you said before, it's a challenging job to keep everybody happy. And that comes back to sometimes can be a bit about my personality, the way I treat people, knowing how to treat people, individuals differently. So it's a big part of my job there. I enjoy the role of getting the NRL player back to first grade because although it's hard at the time when they're dropped, to be selected back in first grade after coming back and playing well in reserve grade is a great thing for them. And most of the time you don't see them again, which is a good thing as well.
So, and you've got big personalities. You've got very experienced players. For example, you had Joe Offengawi there for a while.
Yeah.
David Nofaluma has been in reserve grade.
In and out.
Dane Laurie's been there for a while as well. So, these are tried and tested first graders, but you also get a rewarding feeling seeing them get back into the top grade.
I do, mate. I the big thing for me is when with players of that status, when they come back, there's two ways that they can approach it. They can work hard and work their way out of there, or they can kick stones and spend an extra 4 weeks or 5 weeks there because of their attitude being poor. The guys you've spoken about just there, Joe would never have played too many reserve grade games in his career. The way he came back and he approached it, and he in the short time he was there, he was leading the team. He really pushed himself to get back into first grade, which was great. Dane has played well most weeks, and the opportunity will come for Dane, I'm sure.
Sure it will. Yeah.
So
he's just getting over that head knock too, isn't he?
Yeah. So it's rewarding. I think because I'm here full time, I'm at training sessions with the top 30. I'm not a stranger to them, so they know how to approach me as well, and they know that I've got their best interests. So I think that helps immensely these days.
And given your role formally with Westfields Sports and dealing with a number of juniors, you know a lot of the players in the pathway system currently, and you knew quite a bit about Talon De Silva, who made a rapid rise through the Pathways program. So just recapping that, in the space of 12 months, he goes from playing Harold Matthews, then goes to Flegg, taken out of to Ball rather, then to Flegg, then to New South Wales Cup with yourself a couple of weeks ago, and then makes his NRL debut. And wasn't that just wonderful scenes on that Southern Hill at Campbelltown?
Yeah, local kid, local junior.
He said he was going to try and fill the hill, and he bloody nearly did.
East Campbelltown junior. He had a lot of support there. I know I spoke to the school during the week because they were very interested to see that he'd been chosen and whether he was going to play or whether it was just, the school was interested. There's a lot of kids from school there that he'd gone to school with. Great support.
When is a player ready, Chops? What are some of the telltale signs? You've got an 18-year-old. How did you know he was ready for NRL? And did Tim Benji, they come and have a chat to you?
Well, look, I think Tim's approach to it is if they're good enough, they're old enough. So we've seen it before. I guess it's managing their footy now. Talon got 2 little stints there on the weekend. He got a feel of it. He now understands a little bit more about it. And I'm sure over the next month that will be the plan for him. In the long process is making sure that he's ready to be a starting hooker in 12 months, 2 years' time. We're talking about an 18-year-old kid. So it's not like he has to be that player. And we've got Appy there who he can learn off. A great experience to learn off.
Yeah.
Talon was... I had Talon at Westfields in year 7. He was 12 years old. By the time...
Did you spot something back then?
By the time we'd finished the first year, I had some young coaches around me, and I said to them at the time, I think we've got something special here.
True.
Because he, even as a young player, he was always going to be a hooker. There was never he might be a half or he might be a fullback. He was a hooker. And rarely do you get that in a young player, do you know what I mean? Especially coming out of mod football where they're not allowed to run or they weren't allowed to run.
She got the vest on.
He just picked things up quickly, playing straight out of dummy half, engaging markers. He took it on so quickly. And I thought, if this kid develops physically, he could be anything. He's certainly got the talent. So it was certainly there. Yeah.
Young talent time.
Yeah. That was school. Do you know what I mean? That was my job at Westfields. That was, there was some talented kids there that that most probably never went on for different reasons. And then you had kids like there was Jason Saab, Lindsay Smith, Matt Dory from Parramatta.
Yep.
They couldn't make their age group team until they were 16, but they absorbed everything you said, and then physically they started to develop, and they went past kids that were most probably better schoolboy footballers than them. By the time they were 16, they were first picked in the team. So, sometimes you just got to wait a little bit. You find that love for the game and that ability and things that they do have. Not everyone makes it at 15, 16. I've seen plenty of kids win Harold Matthews competitions for clubs that never went on and played first grade.
Well, there you go. And Dean Hallertau last week or the week before was in here, and he said he didn't make really any of the junior rep teams. So there's some lessons there, isn't there, to parents of young footballers or even to young teenage footballers that may miss out on that development squad or that Cubs squad that we've got now or whatever. It's not the end of the road.
No, it's not the end of the road. And as I always say, one of my big talking points to parents was at school, even when we did trials, I'd say to them, look, if he doesn't make it, it's only my opinion.
Yep.
He could go down the road and someone else have a different opinion to me and he'll get chosen. So at the end of the day, don't give up based on my opinion. Go and keep trying. If you love the game enough and if that's what you want to do, try till it's no longer there for you. And I think a lot of kids these days give up too early on their ambitions because it is very selective at a young age group now, more so than ever. Harold Matthews and things like that. If they're not making Harold Matthews or SG ball teams, they're giving the game away, which is, I think, is if you love it enough, stick at it.
Now, Jareem Buller, he's made an instant impact. He's been an instant success, still very, very young and still learning a lot. But actually, my physio said to me only yesterday, he's the type of player, when he gets the ball, you expect something good to happen.
Yeah, that's
one of those players.
That's how it's been so far. The crowd's reacting to him. I think that everyone's expecting something of him, yeah.
Did you expect him to make such an impact so early?
No.
Did anyone?
Not based on ability. I never thought that he never had the ability.
He was with you in Cup?
Yeah, he was with me in Cup for a while. I'd watched him play Jersey Flegg last year. He was raw.
Mm-hmm.
You could see that there was something there. His personality, he's a quiet kid, and I thought, it might be a little bit of a shock for him at first. This is a big step. How wrong I was, because he just slid into that first game against Penrith, and I was expecting to see a kid full of nerves sitting in the corner in the dressing room worrying about everything that was about to happen.
Yeah.
He went out like it was another game of footy. And that was a surprise, because his personality that was shown to me wasn't that.
No.
And I'm sure he's still, there's nervous times. He's having those nervous times, but he's not allowing it to affect his footy.
Oh, lovely young fella. Really quiet. You got to watch out for the quiet ones.
Yeah, well, you do. That's
and then he
true.
went with Dragons up Magic Round. I think he saved another game for us, didn't he?
Yeah,
from memory.
Yeah. So it was a surprise, mate, because that's what takes all different people to play our game, I guess, mate. And he's just one kid that's grabbed it.
Yeah. Did you see in him there were some signs that he's an NRL player?
Yeah, talent, athleticism, all those things, all pointed towards him achieving that type of goal eventually. But again, Sheensy with his approach, he's a young kid, but he's good enough. We'll see how it
Sheensy
goes.
did make mention of him in pre-season, I recall, and a couple of journos picked up on it.
Yeah.
So I think Sheensy had seen what you'd seen, and
well, we'd kind of seen it the year before in Flegg.
Yeah.
Tim and myself had watched a bit of the.
But it's a tricky one too, because you've got these young kids coming through, right? And even with talent at the weekend, right? It's a marvellous occasion for him, And from me, from a PR point of view, I want to sell the story. I want to, it's a good news story, right? But then, and the same with Doreen when he made his debut. From my point of view as a media manager, I want people to know about this. It's a really good pathways type story. But then you've got to be careful too, haven't you, not to overexpose these young players, because you just want them focusing on the game.
Well, it's about timing. When do I put them in? What game suits? Are we going into a game which suits a young player coming in? It's how are we going as a team? Are we going okay at the moment? Is there people in there that can kind of support him and guard him a little bit in his experience, especially the young players? So it's all about, picking that game for them.
Well, it was perfect that Talon was to be at Campbelltown. I don't know if that was orchestrated, but it was.
Yeah, and, although Melbourne Storm still had the land of the Giants in the middle of the field there, there was no Cameron Munster, there's no Harry Grant. So it was most probably a good time to give him a taste of it. And I think it was done really well that, he wasn't put under any pressure at any time. He was just out there getting a feel for it. And the good thing for me was he didn't stray away from doing the stuff that he'd done previously.
Got in there.
He ran from dummy half. He took his opportunities.
Quick.
So, again, it's just one of these young kids that don't have any fear. And, again, I'm sure there was some nerves there, but before the game, he was, same as what he was the week before with me. Even playing second grade, I thought when he came up, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to deal with a kid that's going to have a bit of nerves here. I don't want him to be overawed by this.
Fine.
I'm fine, Chops. Yeah,
he did say leading up to that his NRL debut that he was now playing against men, full-grown men.
Yeah.
He said he had a few butterflies, but lovely young boy and family. Met his dad too, Johnny. When I was saying you want to make the most of the occasion from a PR type point of view, but you got to understand the player you're working with, and you don't want to rattle them. But he was very calm and enjoyed the week leading up to it.
Yeah. And I guess that he'd done a pre-season with us, mate. And,
yes.
And the senior players, even in pre-season, were asking, who's this kid, so he'd already had a little bit of the support and that from senior players. They didn't feel like it was...
No, it was wonderful. Yeah. As you say, landed the Giants. We didn't get the 2 points, but Talon's debut was awesome.
Yeah.
Twali, what about Twali? I mean... I've been to some footy games in my time. That was hairs on the back of the neck stuff. That's when the Twali chant started.
It would have been lovely. It would have been lovely to have 20,000 there. They would have.
Yeah.
But look, great for him, mate. He takes it on the chin. I don't think scoring tries is really a concern for Twali. I think everyone else has made it a concern in the game. Yeah, we're all keen for him.
And I reckon he's been getting a bit fed up with all that.
Oh yeah, I think he just brushes it aside now. I think he expects every second commentator or person within the game to mention it.
What did Vossi say in the commentary? Something like. The world is a beautiful thing, or something to that effect. Yeah,
that's great for him, mate. He's a tremendous guy, Twali, and well loved by everybody in the club and in the team. He's kind of forged a real good mateship and training ally in Dave Clemis.
Well, Clem almost took the try. Did you see that? Clem could have almost grounded it himself.
Yeah, he spoke to me after the game and spoke to me about that. Yeah, he did. He said to me, Chops, he said, I could have dived on it, and then I saw Twali coming from nowhere, and I thought, well, he's a better chance than me, so I just kind of left it. He goes, I didn't even fathom to me that it was Twali coming. He said, I could just see this bloke coming from nowhere at speed, and the excitement, like, you could just, even on the players, they recognised it straight away. Yeah. The smiles and that all in the celebration of it. So
I saw the coach's box too. And Benji recognised it too. It was
I'm on the headset to Benji on the sideline, and Benji goes, "It's Twali."
Yes, it is.
And then I went, "Oh, yeah, it is." Yeah. So it's great excitement. And as I said,
I don't think we're ever going to see a long range try from Twali.
Now, he still hasn't carried the ball across the line, really, has
Technically,
he?
no.
So I don't know whether we can count this one.
We might get Twaley on next week.
Yeah.
I reckon we have a chat to him. At the weekend, Lidcombe Oval. So remind too, a double header at Lidcombe this weekend on Saturday. So midday we got Jersey Flegg, and then 2:00 kickoff against the Bulldogs.
Yep.
They beat you earlier in the year, didn't they?
They did.
At Belmore. That's hot day. That stinking hot day.
Stinking hot day.
We'll put that down.
No
to that.
excuse because we were both there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a strong side. You know, they've got a lot of depth in their lower grades. So, yeah, we're in for a big afternoon.
It's a double header. So NRL team has got the bye. So if you get out there if you can, Lidcombe Oval. So back last weekend, then nice. So the new grandstand, officially unveiled, Tommy Rodonicus OAM grandstand.
Yeah.
Lovely touch.
Yeah, it is a lovely touch. I mean, you go back to the old days at Lidcombe Oval, and I can remember watching Sunday night footy with people packed around the bike track there. I think they played South there one day, and there was that many people there. So, yeah, look, it's nice to get back to the grassroots of it all and where it all originated from. We've been fortunate enough this year that we've had really good support when we've played there. The weekend, hopefully, our performance on the weekend won't deter people from coming out and having a look this weekend.
I'm sure they will. Yeah. You get that sort of sense of nostalgia, and it is our home ground. Hey, it's one of our spiritual home grounds.
For the west side of it, it's still very much their home ground. Their little bit of independence, I guess. You're talking before about Alan Fowler. Alan Fowler's cooking the sausage sandwiches out there. You got Leo Efafania running around organising everybody. So you've kind of got a little bit of old West nostalgia there. They've just, done up the dressing rooms a little bit in there to bring them into
slap of paint,
bring them into the 20th century.
20th century. So hang on. So we've got this
all the blood's off the wall from when the slapping was going on. But
wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall back in those days?
Yeah, I can understand. And I say this to the players, like the people that turn up in the West gear still. Yeah. You've got to go out there and at least, give them something. I said, these people are turning up on their own bat. They still love the black and white jersey. I've seen, in my time, I've seen what Newtown have created with their second grade team and their support. I've seen what the Bears are created now. They've got the same thing. They've just got their supporters and.
Which is fine,
and that's fine.
That's legacy. That's history.
That's history, and not everyone can be changed. So I understand where they're coming from. These people, and the players pay them respect of saying g'day, and and.
Oh, look, absolutely. We are one club, right?
Yeah.
We are West Tigers.
Yeah, that's right.
We are proudly West Tigers, but we have a very, very proud heritage and history that other clubs don't have with the joint venture. And obviously there's still a lot of people just wearing the Balmain Tigers jersey, as there are wearing the Magpies jersey with the Masterton across the front.
You go to Leichhardt Oval recently.
But they're all part of this.
And you'll still see a West jersey and a Tigers jersey because that's where their background comes from. But we're all supporting the one thing in the West Tigers. And, I'm employed by the West Tigers and I'm coaching West Reserve grade. But, I understand the interest from those people.
Look, it's a big melting pot and we're all sort of rowing the same boat here.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got this new grandstand. Well, not new grandstand. Unveiled with Tommy on the grandstand. There were seats available, but I saw a photo, and I don't know, a bloke looked very much like yourself from the weekend, sitting in a chair on the top of a dunny block. Was it you?
Yeah, that was me, mate. Me and my assistant. That's the best view I can get from Lidcombe Oval.
Top of the toilets.
Leo said to me, I still haven't built your coach's box yet. I said, oh, well, mate, I'll just sit up there. Yeah, look, it's...
You like the end-on view.
It's behind the ground. It's a little bit elevated. As I said, works safety health and safety. I wasn't quite sure about climbing up a ladder onto the roof. I am a football coach, not a plumber or a tiler, so I was a little bit worried about the insurance part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, look, it's you make the most of what you've got, and that's part and parcel. So I'd like to be in the box at ANZ Stadium every week, but that's not possible. So I've got to make the most of what I've got.
Absolutely. You got some players that are knocking on the door of first grade or of NRL, and they've been named in the 22 sort of squad on a team list Tuesday the past few weeks.
Yeah.
Likes of Itasi James.
Yeah.
Who went over to New Zealand too, didn't he? He came with us with the
trial and the pre-season. He did.
Pre-season challenge. He did.
Yeah, he did. He played all the trials pre-season with first grade.
Big body, so he's knocking on the door. Tristan Riley has been scoring tries for fun.
Yeah.
Will Smith as well. These sort of fellas aren't far away, and I guess they may well play in the NRL before the season's out.
Well, as I said, man, it's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think, no doubt, I think Tristan is a chance based on his performances.
I think he's scored 10 tries in
11
games.
And the opportunity may come for him if there's an injury.
Not that it's all about scoring tries. Tell us about Tarsi then.
Tarsi, big mobile, good leg speed, big man. I think he could give us some impact off the bench in first grade. I think he's not far away from an appearance in first grade myself. I guess, they're always asking me, where am I at? And as I keep saying to them, you keep performing well in your arena where you're playing that weekend, then only performance will get you where you want to go to. Don't rely on anything else, rely on yourself, to go out each week and play well. And then when the opportunity comes, that's when you jump at it. So I definitely think as a Tarsi, I think Tristan are both most probably the guys who haven't debuted yet in first grade who will make debuts by the end of the year. And obviously Will, at the moment, opportunities around that half hooker area. He was 18th man on the weekend for the Storm game. So he's
proven NRL
he's proven
player
his
and
history.
Very handy backup to have there. Are there any other sort of youngsters in the system or younger players coming through that maybe you've spotted?
There's a young fella that's been playing in the centres for most of the year. He's back in flag at the moment due to most probably guys like Tristan, and I've had Nato back there the last couple of weeks. Levi Sakura. He's been playing very well in second grade. I did have him playing on the wing for a couple of weeks, but that wasn't justifying him as a player. So I moved him off the wing and put him back in the centres in flag for his development. He's one that's going well, yeah. So look, at the moment with the inconsistency, we're most probably not getting that week-to-week performance out of people that I want or would like to of those young players at the moment. But we're working hard on it, and hopefully over the next month or so that we can get a bit of consistency about us, and then you'll see these young guys again popping their head up. So
good.
Bryden's lawyers are the lawyers you know and trust. If you require legal representation, then why look anywhere else? Call Bryden's lawyers on 1800 848 848. Bryden's lawyers, we do support you in your time of need.
Righto. Why don't we dive into you? We're bang on. So,
righto.
5 to go. Okay. Favourite 5, righto?
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah.
Okay. As a kid, your favourite player growing up?
My favourite player growing up?
It's got to be a North Sydney Bear, is it?
Nah. Graham Eady.
Wombat.
The first jersey I ever had as a kid, though, Eric Sims. Number 1 South jersey.
Wow.
Love goal kickers.
So who'd you support then?
Well, I was a South supporter as a very young kid.
Yeah.
I don't know who got me into South because no one else was a South supporter. And then I think my father most probably took me to Brookvale so many times I became a Manly supporter.
Yeah.
And, Graham Eady. Graham Eady as a back and Terry Randall as a forward. Terry Randall was the best defensive player.
Yeah. Wombat was the best. Yeah.
And I thought, Wombat was
I
a
spent
great
a bit of time
attacking
with
player.
Chad, actually. He came over to London.
So they were my two favourite players back then.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm getting off track here as well. Another mate of mine, he was a Wombat Edie fan.
Yeah.
Manly Tragic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's he named his first daughter?
Yeah.
Edie. So I see her in the street. She's hey, Wombat. What? She doesn't quite understand. Your best career moment as a player?
My best career moment as a player. First grade selection.
The debut?
Yeah.
Ringing mum and dad.
Yeah. Just a lifetime dream coming true, and something that, was still kind of, it was surreal, really. You know, once it happens, it's kind of,
wow,
okay, I'm here.
Because it's a life, not a lifetime. It years and years and years. You're sort of going through those junior ranks, thinking, "Gee, I'd love to just play NRL one day." And when it happens, whoa.
Yeah, and I thought of all the people that had played a part in my footy. Coaches that I'd had. I had a very good coach. I played bit of lower grades at Manly, Gary Thorogood.
Yeah.
He was a really good coach, and I think I took a lot on board from Gary.
Who was the biggest larrikin in your couple of years at the Magpies?
Oh, look, and
I probably should have given these questions to you before you came
the
in.
biggest larrikin at the Magpies, unfortunately, he's passed now, and that was a front rower that came to us from the Raiders and Parramatta called David Woods.
Woodsy, I went to school with him.
Yeah.
Went to school together.
Yeah, look, it's a very sad story with Woodsy, but he was the absolute
Larger than life.
Larger than life. And he was a great man, and he was my roomie when we went away.
Oh dear.
So we were the odd couple. I was the quieter, say not much, be seen, not heard. And Woodsy was the instigator of everything. So I jumped on his curtails there every now and then, and
wow,
went into his world. But he was a great man. Really.
God rest his soul.
He was a good man.
No, I went to Parramatta Maris.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite piece of advice that you've been given?
My advice that I give to most is never give up on a dream. And I revert back to my Manly team, the NYC team that won the comp. We scraped into the semi-final by 7 actual points for and against.
True.
We scraped in on 8th.
This is what, 2020?
2017, the last NYC competition.
Right.
And we scraped into the semi-finals on 7 points for and against. We were equal with
top 4, was it, or
top 8?
Oh, top 8.
Because it was a national competition, and we had to play North Queensland in the first game, and they had Horsburgh. And
would that have been 1v8?
Yeah, 1v8.
Oh,
so 1v8 first round. So
you got them.
Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, no, I think 1 versus.
Can't remember.
Can't remember what
it might have been
was.
6.
Anyway.
6, yeah.
And I went in, they were a funny bunch of kids, bunch of larrikins, and good bunch of kids. And I wrote on the whiteboard, "Dare to dream." I said, what else have I got? We're coming up against it here.
Well,
just wrote "Dare to dream." Hopefully that'll inspire them to think that everything, just work for it and it can happen. And, we went through and eventually won the competition, and we hadn't won 4 games in a row all year. We had to win 4 games to win the comp.
All about timing, chops, see?
So, all about timing. But, dare to dream.
Yeah.
So many people sit back and let their dreams, go without trying. So, And as I say to people, if you give up, if you stop dreaming, you stop living. So,
Like it.
yeah.
Finally, mate, then, okay, this is a three-pronged question. So, favourite food, favourite movie, and favourite place in the world? Start with the food.
Favourite food?
You're a cook?
Nah.
No.
Don't have time to cook. If I
Oh,
was
a few boys in that chair, been telling me how good they are cooking.
If I was cooking, mate, I'd get dinner at 10 o'clock at night. I don't get home till 8. So, no, look, for me, favourite food, char grilled steak.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a normal steak, mate.
Medium.
Oh,
Medium rare. Well,
yeah, I don't like it mooing.
a little bit of pink.
Remember, my father was a butcher, so everything,
of course.
everything he had was still mooing on the plate.
Yeah.
And I can remember, we'd have a barbecue, and my mum would yell out to me, your dad's cooking a barbecue, and I'd say to her, make him cook it.
Yeah.
And he'd stick the barbecue on for 5 minutes, go, it's cooked.
Yeah.
I'd say, no way in the world, But, yeah, so just a good old steak and salad, mate. I'm a pretty much a meat and 3 veg or meat and salad kind of lifestyle I've had. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we got a lot of things in common here. My granddad would, if he'd curse if you ever put sauce on a good steak.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I don't get it.
No,
yeah,
I'd
go to a nice steak restaurant or a restaurant. They go, what sauce? I go, no.
Maybe a little bit of
sauce.
A little bit of mustard on the side, maybe, if
Just
you want.
give me that steak, cook it properly, char grill it. I'll eat it as it is.
Beautiful. Nice. Righto. Favourite movie?
Favourite movie?
What are you into?
Oh, over the last couple of years, I like The Gentleman. Movie The Gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is it? Who's the lead actor?
Don't ask me that, mate. Don't ask me that.
I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched a good flick.
Yeah, I like The Gentleman. Hugh Grant was in it.
I'm not big on Hugh. I think he's too same sort of character in every movie he's in.
Different in this. Different in this. Yeah, different.
Right.
This is a bit of much different in this. Not great into movies.
No,
mate.
okay. Do you
I'd rather watch the
Netflix
footy.
stand or anything?
I'd rather watch the footy.
Right. Okay, finally. Your favourite place in the world?
Favourite place in the world? No.
You can have been there or you don't have to have been there yet.
I'm going there.
Oh.
I'm going to go there next year after the season if I've got a job. But, at the end of next season, I'm going to go to Italy for a few weeks. Maria is a traveller. Maria is Greek.
I was going to say.
She's flying out to Crete on Saturday for 2 weeks because she can and I can't, and she's not. I'm not going to be able to stop her because of my stupid football, as she would say. So she spent a bit of time in Greece, right? So she loves the Greek islands.
Yeah, me too.
So I'll just, mate. She's been around the world, and I've been to Queensland and.
Take you to
Gold Coast, Campbelltown.
Beautiful parts,
So,
Parramatta.
Yeah,
I take you to Verona.
I can live with myself.
Take you to Verona. She'll like that. Under Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, okay.
The balcony where he threw pebbles up.
Big expectations.
Yeah, no, you'll like that, mate. It's been a pleasure, Chops. All the best for the rest of the season.
Thanks,
with
mate.
New South Wales Cup,
Yeah,
obviously. And this weekend at Lidcombe Oval, Saturday afternoon, doubleheader. Jersey Flag at midday against the Bulldogs, and New South Wales Cup 2 o'clock kickoff there as well. So get out there if you can. Sit in the newly named Tommy Rodonicus OAM grandstand, and we look forward to seeing you out there. NRL team bye this weekend, obviously, and then they'll be focusing on going to Townsville to take on the Cowboys. So thanks for your company. We'll do it all again next week. You know the drill. Until then, show your stripes.
Behind the Roar, the official podcast of West Tigers.